Welcome to This Week in Habsland. I am Jordan and he is Brian, and we are here to dive into all the happenings surrounding our Montreal Canadiens. You can find us on social media at Habsland Pod. Now, we had 3 one-goal games this week. Brian, broadly speaking, after 2 weeks, the Canadiens are 4-2. I refuse to say 4-2-0. 4-2, Brian. Does that sound about right to you after watching this team for 2 weeks?
I think it sounds exactly right, honestly. The team's priority after nearly not making the playoffs last year was to start strong this year. And I'd say that 4-2 is a strong start. Not incredible, but certainly in the positives. If you prorate that on 82 games, they're in the playoffs. So that's very positive. In terms of the eye test, I think it's difficult to say because especially this week, 2 beyond exciting games they came back from. And I know they were the comeback kids last year. They're turning into the comeback kids again this year, but it's not something you can bank on every night. It's not the type of thing where you go into the third period down 1 or 2 goals and you say, oh, it's okay, we'll come back. Or get 3 scored on you in the third period and think it's okay, we'll come back because it was too little too late against the Rangers on Saturday night. So beyond exciting games, Kraken, Predators, like those games were really, really fun at home. Caulfield is just a magic man in the clutch now. It was clutch captain Nick last year. Cole Caulfield this year is just a magician late in games. That roofed shot in overtime was sick. He has been really impressive to start the year, Cole Caulfield.
So this question does kind of lead into my headline, but I'll hold off for a second because I'm happy you mentioned that goal he scored. So this is the overtime winner, or if I can remember correctly, this is the Seattle game. Sorry, Cole Caulfield scored a lot of clutch goals this week, and they're getting mixed in my head a bit. So the Seattle one, at first glance, watching it live, it was, oh, he didn't mean to do that. And then you watch the replay and you're like, this guy saw 4 inches of space between the shoulder pads, the post, and the crossbar and was like, there, that's where it's going. Unreal stuff. And then I know you just said it's clutch Cole, but Nick's still making the pass with 2 seconds left in OT.
Yep.
Like there's something still there. Anyways, so again, to the 4-2 stuff, like I wanted your opinion first on it. The Canadiens have essentially been in 5 one-goal games. Forget the empty netters against Toronto. It's the Detroit game, which was the moderate kind of blowout, and then essentially 5 games down to the wire. Winning 3 of those 5, along with the blowout win against Detroit, sounds about right to me, really. Especially when you consider the quality of the competition. And that's something we haven't really mentioned on this podcast, but it has been coming up, how the Canadiens have a very easy schedule the first 2.5, 3 weeks of the season. They're going out west. They're still not playing, other than Edmonton, anyone that was a playoff team last year. They had Toronto to open the season, and then Edmonton in about a week's time, or coming up this week, I should say. So it's been an easy level of competition, but that's kind of helpful, I think, for the Canadiens. So 4-2, yeah, it sounds about right. And let's go right into the headlines of the week. I'll start with mine because it ties right in. It's, okay, they're better, but how much better are they? Especially compared to last season. So they're winning more, but personally, and maybe this is just us changing expectations. I mean, it certainly is. Something feels a little bit off in terms of, well, they're not, I mean, we're getting greedy, right? Like they're not winning the way we want them to win now. Before they just weren't winning.
Right.
The first thing I see is not enough consistent offense. Let's put the poor goaltending aside for at least a bit. Let's talk about the other 18 guys on the team, not the one guy between the pipes. That's what I'm seeing. Like at first glance, and there's a couple pieces obviously, but it's from a offensive and it's weird because they are scoring still 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals in a game. But I'm noticing, at least, Brian, like just a little bit less in terms of offensive generation. Is that what you're seeing as well?
I'd say so. I think it's more inconsistency. I don't know if it's a lack of, or if it's just one game, a few of the lines have it, the other line doesn't. The one caveat I'll make to that inconsistency thing is the Dobes and Matheson pairing is still working. We mentioned them last week. I want to mention them again. It's just still working beautifully. So obviously Gouli goes down before the Saturday game, so that kind of fluctuates things defensively for the Montreal Canadiens. The middle pairing changes. Struble has to take Gouli's spot. Nothing changes on the bottom pairing, thankfully. I think that was the right thing to do for Martin St. Louis, to have just Carrier, Jack stay consistent. That's the same. So I think the lack of consistency, you're right to point out that it is an offensive thing, because from the D's perspective, especially offensively, they've been great. but not every line is scoring all the time. And it's not only about the results, but you're not really peppering shots on any of these opposing teams' netminders. It's nice that you're limiting the shots for once. Last year, it was like a lot of 37 to 22 games at the start of the season. It's not that this year. So that's a step in the right direction. But I also don't know that the limited amount of shots that you're getting, that a lot of them are high danger scoring chances anyway. So that's another factor in this, is that you have to look at how many of these opportunities are actually going to get converted into goals on a regular basis. Forget what's happened in terms of results, what could happen in the future based on the types of chances that they're getting.
So I sent you an absolute truckload of data like 40 minutes before we started recording. For you and the listener, I'm not going to rattle off everything, but there's some stuff that you were already getting into in terms of the quality and the quantity right now. One of the biggest changes I've noticed, and damn the NHL for not giving us all this data, in terms of offensive zone time, the Canadiens ranked 27th in the NHL last year. This year, they are up to 8th. Now, I want to put the caveat on there that includes power play time. The numbers themselves don't fluctuate too much as far as I can tell, because they only give us the top 10, but broadly speaking, let's say it's plus or minus 2 positions. But overall, I mean, jumping from 27th to 8th, like they're in the offensive zone so much more than they were last year. So this is a positive, net positive, right? Got the puck more. You just said it, right? They're not, other than, I'm trying to think, was it maybe the Detroit game where they got peppered with shots? Other than that, it's been pretty even, if not they're out shooting the opponent. So that's good. Yeah. We can look at expected goal percentage. We can look at Corsi's and high danger scoring chances. Broadly speaking, the percentages are a little bit better year over year. It's also super early. So I don't know how much I want to look at that. Something I did want to look at though, because again, overall, the numbers are showing, hey, they're a bit better. But again, what I'm seeing is it's just not as much. Like there's just not enough flow to the offense. There's not enough consistent scoring chances, I was going to say zone time, but they do it. They are getting more zone time. So my eye test is telling me they are not as consistent in actually generating shots and opportunities. So what I looked at is through natural stat trick, there's the per 60 numbers. And I think that's through 6 games, you can take something for that at 5-on-5. Last year, in terms of scoring attempts or shooting attempts, so Corsi 4, they were 24th. This year, they're 26th. Not much change. Corsi against 28th, 27th this year. Like there's really not much change. Same, right?
Yeah.
The one that does kind of jump off the page, because now we're going to look a bit more at, in terms of expected goals for per 60, expected goals against per 60. So really we're just saying quality of chances and quantity of chances kind of merging all together. Last year, the Canadiens, in terms of so expected goals for per 60, they were 14th, which I think makes sense. They were middle of the pack. Yeah. They were good. This year, that number, so it's 2.55 expected goals per 60. This year, it's dropped all the way down from 14th to 26th. They're 2.17, so almost half a goal less. To me, indicating they're just generating less offense. And then the kicker is defensively, they went from 31st expected goals against per 60 all the way up, believe it or not, to 5th. As of right now, easy competition, blah, blah, blah. They're going from 2.87 to 2.15. So about 0.7 goals down. Better. This is good. We want them expected goals against to go down.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing broadly here is through 6 games, through a decently balanced home and road schedule, actually it's perfectly balanced, a reduction in the amount of opportunities created and expected goals, and then just a massive reduction as well in expected goals against. So I have some ideas on why that might be happening, Brian. But first of all, does that match the eye test? Because we always try to do, right? We go, okay, eye test says one thing. What does data say? What is really happening? So after all that, is it kind of clicking?
Yeah, I think so. Because the most of the ongoing pressure that the Canadiens got that was really positive happened on the power play. And obviously power play accounts for a fraction of the whole game time. And the rest of the time it was inconsistent. It was 5 minutes without any pressure, and then a minute, hey, great, we got 2 shots, and then nothing for a while.
Yeah.
But you could say the same thing for the opposition, which is why both are so low. Going from 2.55 and 2.87 down to 2.17, 2.15, like just over 2 expected goals for and against per game is pretty amazing. The fact that these scores are considerably higher than that, I'm curious about what that means as well. So maybe we can tackle that after.
Yeah.
But the why question is fascinating to me. Oh, and I want to know what you think about it.
Definitely noticed this in week 2, not in week 1. Now, the difference, of course, is they're the road team in week 1 exclusively. They're the home team exclusively in week 2. Teams are respecting the Canadiens more and actually game planning for them a lot more now. specifically, and it's not rocket science, they're neutralizing as much as they can the Montreal Canadiens' speed. And what that means is it's an aggressive forecheck in terms of where it starts, but not necessarily the play itself. They're trying to break up the Canadiens' zone exits, really. And as they like the puck from behind Monty or Dobes through to center ice, that's kind of where teams are trying to blow up the play, and not necessarily, okay, let the Habs dump it in, they'll lose the puck. It's more, don't even let them get speed up the ice. Seattle did it. Nashville did it. The Rangers did it really well.
That's true.
And that's how we get to Saturday night, where after those first 2 goals, and I don't know if like Mike Sullivan's like had like the game plan and then they don't listen to him. And after 4 minutes, he's like, they're doing what I said they were going to do, specifically the Slafkovsky and Caulfield goal to open the game. And they kind of just like, batten down the hatchets and say, slow them down. And maybe now, certainly Dobes and Matheson has been a huge help, but maybe this is a bit of also so that's on the offensive side. The defensive side is, there's the cliche of the best defense is a good offense sometimes. I think here it's the best defense is a respected offense that the opposing team game plans against that actually reduces their, if you're focusing so much on your defense, you're not going to create as many opportunities. So,
and if you're nervous about a counterattack, you're not going to take risks.
Exactly.
Which stops both teams from being able to have rush chances.
So that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I think the data is reflecting that the Canadiens are being slowed down a bit. And in return, the other team is expending energy. Like you said, there's only so much offense the other team can create when they institute this type of plan. Again, put the goalie to the side for now, because that is affecting it. And that is certainly the reason that Saturday night became much more challenging. So that's what I think. I think you seem to be agreeing with it. I guess the question is this good?
I think it's good because it was going to happen anyway. Let it happen early and let them figure out other ways of generating offense.
Exactly.
Because if teams are going to game plan them this way in games 4, 5, and 6, they're going to do it throughout the entire year. And by game 82 and then the playoffs, hopefully, the Montreal Canadiens will have different ways of scoring. And that also goes back to my pace versus poise kind of philosophical question last week of when do you attack, counterattack, use your speed, use your pace through the neutral zone, gain the zone, and try for rush chances? And when do you go, no, let's slow this down and make almost soccer-esque plays and just pass it around, wait for a smooth point of entry, and do it very gradually from the peripheries if they're shutting down the inside, and then set up a Demidov seam pass or something like that, because that shit still works.
Yeah,
that's going to be effective no matter what. So I think they just have to fall into that gear where they have to rely on different means of scoring. Now, some lines can do this and some lines can't do this. That's the other thing. The fourth line is not going to be generating this type of opportunity. Gallagher, Anderson, Evans, at least offensively, are such north-south players. They're not going to generate this type of stuff. The Demidov, Kapanen, those guys, I think Newhook, they're capable of it, but they're still young and they're still figuring each other out. The first line is really where it's at, which I think that probably goes without saying, considering what they've already produced, what they're going to keep producing, and the way the eye test has looked for them. That's the one line where I'm consistently like, okay, we're back. They're on the ice. There's opportunities.
Yeah, so I think overall, it's a positive sign that they're at this stage where teams are now respecting them a bit more, and they're kind of letting the Canadiens play their game. It's now like, for once, the Canadiens have to now have a counter move, right? Their first move is getting, and it won't get stopped every night. It doesn't get stopped on every shift. And again, broadly, having Noah Dobson just raises the minimum competency level on this team so much defensively. And, Matheson continues to play well and yada, yada. We can go over it. I feel like we've talked about Dobson and Matheson a lot last week. They're still great. So they're better. How much better? We're still figuring it out ultimately. And what we would like to certainly see is more offensive generation while maintaining that amount of very much neutralizing the other team. But I think the competition getting more difficult, maybe not so much this week coming up, but the weeks after that will help tell a different story slowly. Okay. So that was my headline, Brian. Over to you for yours.
Yeah. So actually, I just had a thought, Jordan. How do you feel about jumping to part 2 and then going back to my headline after? Just because mine is kind of unrelated. It's more related to the future of the team and how we're spending our cap.
Yeah.
Whereas the part 2 that you've prepared, I absolutely love. It's a bunch of, at what point can I say that statements? And they're all super relevant to everything we've just been talking about. So if you're cool with that, I I'm very interested in talking about these
Yeah,
things first.
we got 5 good ones that I think part of them is, do we believe it? Just because we wrote this as we're talking about it. I think it's just enough stuff that we've heard and that people are talking
Yeah, the
about.
fan base is talking about all these points big
So
time. Yeah.
you've laid down what this, so we'll jump to part 2. We'll come back to your headline. I think it's a great idea. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's very much, and I think we did this last year. It's at what point can I say ... and then we'll, it's in a way a fact or fiction, but it's like, are we there yet with a lot of these statements that some people are, especially in a world of 140 and 280 characters, people tend to be very definitive with their opinions. And we are now basically saying, okay, but is this actually true? We got 5 to go through. Let's go through the first one. You mentioned Caden Gooley. Brian, at what point can I say that Caden Gooley is injury prone?
Yeah. Friday. This past Friday. I hate to say it. It's really sad to say, but when you play 44 games your first year, then 70, that's pretty good, then 55, and now after your 5th game, you're hurt again, out for a month. I don't know how you could argue that he's not injury prone. Now, is it bad luck to a certain extent? Absolutely. It's not always the same injury. It's not that, this isn't trying to think of a player, but like, I don't know, Carey Price and his knee. That was perpetually the injury after that awful Kreider run into when he ran him. So like, it's not that. This is multiple different injuries that each time you're like, oh shoot, now that too. So does that just mean that his body in general is injury prone? I've said before that the way that he positions himself in the defending corners always worries me, because he does that thing where he turns his back at the last second with possession, which the opposition's coming in for a body check. They were hitting shoulder till 0.3 seconds ago, and now they're hitting you in the back into the boards. So that one always scared me. So is he putting himself in situations that are going to get him hurt? Is this just a string of awful luck? Can his body not handle the workload? Too many question marks for me to say that he's not injury prone.
We hate to do it, but especially with this injury, it was seemingly a non-contact injury. I don't think it's been confirmed anywhere, but enough people have theorized, I think correctly, that it's a groin injury, considering that was hampering him a bit during the preseason, and just in the way he got hurt, kind of stretching out and one of the legs kind of going there. It seemed, anyways, it's lower body, according to the Canadiens. They have yet to pinpoint the exact place. Maybe they'll tell us one day. Yeah, look, specifically the fact that it's non-contact, like last year's was random. It was super weird. This one was not about poor positioning. This one is just like body couldn't keep up. I don't know if it's random, but like you said it, 44, 70, 55, if we're lucky 65 this year, like probably closer to 60. It's sad.
4 to 6 weeks takes you out of how many games now? 10, 15?
Especially with the compressed schedule that they're all dealing with this year. It's a shame, because I think I certainly noticed it Saturday night immediately, that there's just there's an element of the team missing now right away. Yeah. There is some, especially with the Hudson pairing, like there is a defensive threshold that's, I don't think, going to be able to be met now, especially as you go on the road. The matchups get a little bit less favorable. St. Louis has showed over the last 2 years he has very limited trust in Jaden Struble and Arbor Jackeye. Do you think there's a universe where Carrier plays with Hudson and they just say we're going to sink or swim with a Jackeye Struble pairing that's going to get 11 minutes a game? Or is that just kind of perpetuating the cycle of overplaying Mike Matheson and giving Carrier too much responsibility, and it's better to balance out the second and third pairing?
If it was for a week or two, I'd say do it. Limit the times where Struble Jackeye faces off against the top 2 lines and weather the storm, do your best. And then those other 2 lines are great. Or those other 2 pairings, I should say, are great. And they're going to defend well, they're going to attack well, they're going to counter. Nothing wrong with that. For 4 to 6 weeks, I don't know if that's sustainable. They could get into a situation where opposing teams recognize this is when to strike. They're on the road a lot, and quite a few back-to-backs. So not only would that pairing be exploitable when they're not tired, but when they're in the second night of a back-to-back after having played a crazy overtime game, which a lot of them seem to be, that pairing's going to be tired. So that does worry me a little bit. I would almost leave it status quo, because Carrier does more good for the weaker guys than he would for Hudson. I think Hudson is good enough that he can account for being with Struble, who I don't think Struble's better defensively than Jackeye is, I think.
Yeah,
at this point.
for sure.
So And he's physical and all those things, so like he'll defend. I don't know. I was really praying to not have to think about this at all. Like that Goulet would just be fine, because especially those first 5 games, man, he looked really, really good. It's just bad timing.
So 2 things, 1 comment, 1 question. Comment is, I think they're going to throw Carrier in there for some shifts with Hudson. They'll do it strategically before and after commercial breaks. Also, just to give Hudson some time on the left. Like, that's the other part of putting Carrier on second pairing. Like, you get 100% of Lane Hudson, not 85% of him. The other is, who do they call up? Is it Adam Engstrom? Because I'm presuming they're not going to call anyone up until they go on the road trip. And at that point, it's likely Engstrom getting the call.
Yeah. That was the first guy I thought of when this happened.
Okay.
I would rather see him get 20 minutes a game than sitting in the press box. So if he does get called, I would hope he gets into a few games. But that remains to be seen. I think he's the most similar player to Caden Goulet that the Rocket have. He's probably the most NHL ready of the guys that you're even considering in terms of the future of this organization. So as long as you don't think it's going to stunt his development, which I don't think it would, he seems like a very smart and fast skating hockey player who can do pretty well in all zones. I'm not worried about that. Maybe there's an appetite for that.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I'm not also.
What other options are
that's
there?
The thing.
Like, I'm trying to think of the Rocket. Like,
yeah, you think through. Like, there's, William Trudeau, Mark Delgazio.
Okay.
Gannon LaRoque.
I like Delgazio in the preseason. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's Engstrom because he's the one with a realistic future. So it might be good to get a sort of barometer for where he is now and what he needs to do.
Engstrom. Let's just say if the door opens for Engstrom, he might. I think there's a chance he forces his way in permanently.
Like steals a spot.
I think there's that
for good.
Because look, man, Struble and Jackeye, they both bring stuff to the table. We both said at the beginning of the year, those guys as number 6 and 7, you're happy with it. But they're 6s and 7s, and I think Engstrom has the potential to do a lot more. And he looked really good in preseason. He was number 8 to me, to a lot of people. I'm sure to you as well. So if the door opens, I don't know if it will. Maybe they bring up someone a bit more senior because that guy's likely, whoever they're calling up is likely not going to play. So anyways, it might be a moot point. Yep. Anyways, it is a month. So I would anticipate they're going to call up some guys here or there. And if anyone else gets a knock, it would have to be Engstrom coming in the lineup, but we'll see. Let's go to the second one because we've been burying it so far. This is on any other podcast, this is the topic that opens the show, is in the middle of the show. It's 2/3 of the way through the show. It's at the end of the show. Brian, at what point can I say that Jakob Dobes should be the starting goalie in Montreal?
I'd like to jump back to something that we had the same feeling through the preseason about Montembeault. He didn't look ready to start the year, but we said he's a seasoned vet who we shouldn't be worried about until, I don't know, about 6-7 games in. He's played 4. He's more than halfway to that line that we had put in the sand of, okay, now we can start to get worried. And it's not like he's had, 3 out of 4 quality starts, but just got peppered a lot. They're not taking a lot of shots against him, and yet a lot of goals are going in. It's not quite Caden Primo, but it's not that far away, which is just numbers-wise, that's the scary thought here. Now, I have to say yet again, for like the 40th, I'm not tired of being a Montembeault defender because I think I always will be until it becomes clear that he can't do it, but I haven't given up yet. You do have to say, like, he's weathered the storm through some crappy holy defenses, so he has merited more than 4 games till everyone freaks out, I think. So give him another handful, another 2 weeks maybe. Like maybe we revisit this week 4, but it certainly doesn't look good for him. And then the other side of the coin is Dobes has looked great. His overextending that he was doing last year, flying through the crease and doing too much, he's quelled that almost completely. It was very clear, I think, in the offseason, this is what I have to work on to get to the next level. He's reached that echelon. He looks great. 940, 146. It's 2 games, 2 victories. That's it. So incredibly small sample size. I'd say pretty small sample size for Monty too. But Dobes does look great. And the other thing about Monty is he's been in the league long enough that teams know to exploit the thing that we've been saying from the start, which is shoot through a screen.
Yeah.
He cannot look around a screen. For whatever reason, that is his Achilles heel. Dobes does not have that problem. He's so like, he moves his head around looking under guys' legs. He's constantly moving his head around to try and get a sight line. Monty's much more fixed in position, and I wonder if that's why, because he doesn't get the sight lines that Dobes does, and maybe he needs to start to.
So, a lot of what you said I agree with. Dobes has just been better the past, let's just say, since training camp, right? He had a better preseason.
Sure.
He's
Yeah.
played better so far in his 2 games versus Monty's 4. And I know a lot of people have already lost their patience with Monty. Some people lost it towards the end of last year. The one thing that, I mean, and you mentioned it, right? It's the freaking point shots. It's just, it's such a deflating thing, especially when for most goalies that isn't an issue. It's still very weird that this is like Monty's biggest, it's a Achilles heel, that this is something that he struggles with. And like he took blame for the loss on Saturday night, and I think it's completely warranted. Like he was not good, and he's likely the main reason certainly that they lost that game. The team did take the foot off the pedal, but it was a lot on Monty. Something I had already been thinking about earlier in the week, and I think it's even more important to like just think back to this quote from a few years back now, especially after the performance on Saturday night. Brian, I think 3 years ago, after Jake Allen signed his contract extension with the Montreal Canadiens, remember he had 1 year left. He signed a 2-year extension. Martin St. Louis had this quote, and I wanted to find it because I think it's important to remember the exact quote. This is from St. Louis, quote, where he's actually quoting someone. But so, quote, I read this quote the other day and it really resonated with me. You need guys that are willing to plant trees, knowing they'll never sit in the shade. You need guys like that, and Jake is that. End quote. This is St. Louis 3 years ago. I don't think that quote is really about Jake Allen anymore. I think that quote, and we're coming around to it, the quote is about Monty now, right? Because there's this journey that we've all been on these last 3+ years for whenever you think the rebuild started. And not everyone's going to be along for the end, the fairy tale ending that we hope to get. Some guys definitely will be. Suzuki's definitely going to be here. I would say Lane Hudson, Ivan Demidov, they're definitely going to be here. There are some guys that are not going to be here, right? Like Jonathan Huberdeau was not there for the fairy tale ending in Florida, right? Taylor Hall.
Correct.
They haven't won yet in Edmonton, but Taylor Hall is not there in Edmonton, right? You have guys that leave and they still win. And you think that they're going to be part of the story. I think that quote about the planting the trees and never sitting in the shade, it's actually Monty's the guy that the quote should be about, because it's happening this year. He has 1 more year on the deal. Dobes is coming through. Jacob Fowler had a shutout at the Rocket home opener on Friday. It's happening. So yeah, I don't know. It's weirdly tragic that Monty, you've mentioned the last couple of weeks, like he has been through some stuff with this team, like truly terrible stuff. And it's really sad that he didn't get the playoff win last year, that I actually went to Dobes because he got hurt.
Yeah, true. Yeah, after all this time, not even 1 playoff win. That's hard.
So
that's really hard.
At what point can we say that Dobes should be the starter? We're getting close. I think we're both.
It's pretty damn soon, man.
We're getting there. Monty, I think, deserves a little bit more. And maybe we're stupid and being too emotionally attached to it, but especially with that quote coming back into my head this week, like it's going to be tough when it happens, but I think we're getting quite close to it.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's reserve judgment till this happens a few more times, and then I think Marty will also make the switch at that point. Dobes is also getting to an age where he's getting close to a time when he could become a starter anyway. 24 years old. He's pretty much there. I want to just talk one more time real quick about his Achilles heel again, Monty's, and within the context of like, should the team as a whole, the defensive hybrid system they're running, account for this weakness? Or is this on Monty only? Because like the worst part about the point shots being his Achilles heel is that the way the Canadiens defend with this hybrid series allows for a lot of these point shots to happen. When you shut down the middle of the ice and down low especially, the point is often the best option for a shot. And if that's also the best option to beat the goalie, that's all the opposition's going to do. And suddenly you're getting scored on a lot despite playing good defense. So I know it's probably silly to play 2 different systems, one for when Dobes is in net, one for when Monty's in net, especially back-to-back nights with young players who are still learning the first system to begin with. But I think it begs that question. Like, do you have to cater your defensive system to your goaltending
I think
style?
you know the answer to that. You're being so nice to Monty by saying that, but no, you don't. The movement in advanced NHL analytics in the last 3 to 5 years, once everyone started doing the 1-3-1 and your first power play being 1:20 instead of 40 seconds, it's mainly been get rid of the useless shots, right? I think Andrei Vasilevsky talked about this in the offseason, how there's a reason all the goalie save percentages are coming down. It's because teams aren't wasting shots unless you're the Hurricanes on low danger chances, specifically point shots, right?
Yeah.
Teams are being now, and I want to dive more into this, but like just with some more analysis and do my own research on it. But like teams are being more selective with their shooting. So the way the Canadians play, and like, okay, we can give you that shot, or we're going to defend a little bit more loosely up there because we care more about the home plate area. And that makes sense, man. That's how you're supposed to be doing it. Monty should be making those stops.
Yeah, you're right. You're dead on. It was more of a let's have the discussion question, but it's clear as day. He needs to be better in that regard.
Let's go to the happy end of the spectrum here. Brian, at what point can I say that Ivan Demidov is the best player on this team? And if you want to say specifically, at what point during the tying goal against Seattle it was?
Right. So most skilled and most effective is two different things. He's not the most effective guy yet. Is he the most skilled? Probably by a country mile. Hudson, Caulfield, Suzuki are close. But the fact that a rookie is as skilled or more skilled than those three guys, a Calder winner, a top 10 center in the National Hockey League, a 200-foot center, and the magic man himself, Cole Caulfield, that's really saying something. That through pass he made to Suzuki was stellar. The little bump pass he made to, was it Alex Newhook?
Yes.
Might have been Bolduc. It was Newhook.
A Newhook goal, yeah.
No, I'm not even talking about the goal. I'm still talking about that same game on Saturday night. Like minutes after the Suzuki goal went in, he made just like a quick bumper pass into the top of the slot. Anyway, he's making smart passes all the time is my point. And most skilled, I would say we're getting close to the point where we could say he's the most skilled guy on the team. Most effective, that'll come when he hits his Datsuk level. We could say that.
Okay. Well, thank you for sidestepping the question as you do and giving us 3 answers. Already the best puck handler on the team. He's already reached the creates offense out of nothing zone that Lane Hudson got to last year very quickly, and guys like Caulfield and Suzuki do as well. Caulfield, by the way, I mean, we're not really talking about Cole too much this episode. Unreal. You wanted to do a Caulfield segment, I think at one point, but you said it's kind of cliche. Caulfield has been freaking incredible this year. But
also to sidestep your question again, Cole Caulfield is the best player on this team by far. I forget the results. Half of those goals don't go in that he's scored. He's still the best player. He's implicated everywhere. Anyway, back to the sick kid, Ivan Demidov.
I would put out $1 up for Noah Dobson as well for best player so far. Okay, anyways, Demidov. So he obviously not yet. When can we say that? Could be by the end of the year. I'm not ruling it out. The fact that we view it right now is like, well, we have the first line and then Demidov. That's kind of amazing. What was also interesting was power play 2 because of the injuries to Kirby Dach and Patrick Laine. I was like, what the heck is power play 2 going to look like? And St. Louis reached into his bag from last year of double shifting Suzuki, and then he threw out Newhook as well. So we got to see Suzuki, Dobson, Demidov on power play 2, and what do you know? They scored a goal right away.
Crazy. It's amazing that works.
Unreal. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. And it's also like you have one-timers on both sides of the power play. It's like it just works so beautifully. So I will say, even like year over year, from the little sample we got at Demidov last year, his ability to like create more at 5-on-5, and also it feels like he's on the power play has more agency to do more this year as well. So just even in those small sample sizes of the 7 games we saw him play in the NHL last year versus the 6 we've seen this year, there's already a jump. I'm already seeing a better hockey player year over year. And that to me is a really cool thing. He's probably somewhere around the 6 or 7 best guys on the team. And I'm confident saying he's no lower than 4th on the forwards. He might already be 3rd. We're going to take a chill pill, obviously. But like, he is meeting the expectations so wonderfully so far. And the sky remains the limit with this kid.
Yep, 100%. And he's completely disinterested in being one of those high skill guys who does not contribute in other ways as well. Yeah. So I want to throw that into. That's why the Datsuk comparable is so compelling, because when you talk about 200-foot wingers, there's Bob Gainey, there's Datsuk, and could there be Ivan Demidov? The way that he hounds guys for the puck and is just relentless with his stick, they think they're getting away, but they're not. It's really impressive the way that he works without the puck. So, and that's a Marty philosophy as well, is what you do 95% of the time when you do not have the puck on your stick, or 90% of the time. So that's going to be crucial for his development as well, to keep developing in all these different ways to be a really good 200
Quick
foot
sidebar.
winner.
I know we've done multiple sidebars in this segment, but I need to know your thoughts on what you thought. Sorry, what went through your mind when the 4-on-4 with 3 minutes left was about to start, and the 4 guys hopping on the ice, you first see Hudson along with Dobson, and you're like, all right, let's go. You see Demidov come over the boards, and then you see Joe Veleno as the 4th guy. What went through your mind?
Confusion is the best word for it. Was it tiredness? I should have paid more attention to what had just occurred, and it could absolutely be that guys were being rested for the next shift because Marty saw who the 4 guys were on for the Rangers and thought like, okay, there's going to be a weakness next shift. I'll put 1 guy on who can score, or I guess 3, Hudson, Dobson, Demidov, and then Veleno can run around and be a nuisance to the opposition a little bit, get physical. And then next shift is when we'll really try and counter. I don't know. That might have been a misstep.
I can't explain it. I put Oliver Kapanen, put Alex Newhook, put freaking Jake Evans. That was the weirdest move I've seen St. Louis pull this year. Anyways, a sidebar.
It's not like Veleno was having a stellar game like he did in preseason either. He was just okay.
No, and he had taken 1 face off. It's not like he was like, oh, he's 6-2 at the dot so far today. Let's ride he had one face off out of 1 attempt coming into that.
Yeah.
Anyways, 4th one. I want to go through these last 2 before we get back to your headline to wrap it up. Brian, at what point can I say the penalty kill is a real issue?
I think a larger sample size is needed. I'll keep this short. I think we need to see more. And then also the other factor is that your goalie is often your best penalty killer. That's a constant trope that's said. And we already discussed Montembeault's weaknesses. What happens a lot on power plays? Shots from the point.
No, fair enough. Goalie is the big factor right now, and that's why it's TBD for me. You also have to remember 3 of your main penalty killers from last year are no longer on the team, and Dvorak, Armia, and Savard. The one thing that I heard Arpin Basu mention that I've also noticed, and I noticed it again on Saturday, is on PK1, Dobson tends to go pretty high in his position and leaves the Habs susceptible to the cross ice pass in the crease. And now that was on the first penalty that they killed on Saturday. Definitely noticed that. He removed it. He got better at it. Not that he got better at it, but that was not an issue later in the game. And he actually had a nice slide to block a cross ice pass later on. So I don't know if it's schemed that when the puck is in a certain spot, go a little bit further up to really kill the bumper, or if he's just skating a little too far out of position. That's the only thing I'll flag from a scheme standpoint. But yes, it's goalie and a super small sample size for 5 games.
And another thing that's going to hurt it, to come back to Caden Gooley, good penalty killer, not there for 4 to 6 weeks, so that's not going to help. 72% right now is the Montreal Canadiens penalty kill. Definitely needs to be better for them to win more hockey
Absolutely.
games.
Okay, last one, fun one, because I hear the rumblings. They are starting, Brian. They might have quieted down after Saturday, but you can, if you listen close enough right now, you can hear it. You can hear it happen. Brian, at what point, so before I say this is one I do not believe in, but I'm going to say it out loud, but do not crucify me for it. Okay, Brian, at what point can I say that I'm worried about the Uri Slafkovsky contract?
Yeah, so this one is definitely humoring a always never satisfied fan base. Yeah. I think you could start being worried about that contract if ever. So number one, if ever Slav stops being an effective puck battler and retriever and play facilitator for that first line, because he's perfect for that. So, and that means that, yeah, maybe the results aren't always there. He's not necessarily getting the points, but a lot of those points that Suzuki and Caulfield and Hudson are getting are because Slafkovsky just battled like a maniac against 2 guys to retrieve that puck and made a smart pass back to the point. That's number one. And number 2, so both these things would have to happen for you to actually worry. If the cap flattens again, if someone eats a squirrel in Timbuktu and another pandemic occurs and the economy goes to crap and suddenly we're in a flat cap era again, yeah, okay, we could consider thinking that maybe 7.6 was too much for Uri Slafkovsky. Everybody shut up. It's a great deal. He's not worth 200,000 less than Suzuki. Yeah, because Suzuki's probably worth 12. We're so spoiled. We're so effing spoiled. Of course, we're going to, some people are going to think, oh, this one's bad compared to these guys. Yeah, because those guys took amazing deals. And even if he doesn't pan out as a $12 million player for just under 8, if he's an $8 million player for just under 8, I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, please don't eat squirrels. I think that's the main headline that I'm hearing coming out of this. So what I think that some people will start to observe assess Yuri Slafkovsky differently is because obviously new contract equals new expectations that kicked in this year. Two, Ivan Demidov is the shiny new toy. He is, despite the fact that he's 5th overall and Slav was still 1st overall, there's a bit of like, hey, these guys should be the same. When like, no, they're not. Like Demidov goes first in that draft every day. And the third one is, and I think this one is legitimate, that there is a history of Montreal Canadiens players who make the team as 18 or 19-year-olds and plateauing in year 4 or 5. Talk about Galchenyuk, you talk about La Tendresse, talk Kotkaniemi. I mean, he's still plateaued. Yeah. So I think there's a bit of PTSD in that part. So I'll forgive that part if someone's coming at it from that perspective.
How worried are you about that specifically?
Oh, not at all.
That this is a plateau?
No, nothing.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Nothing.
The bounces are going to start coming.
So here's the thing. As long as people understand the player that Yuri Slafkovsky is supposed to be, we're great. Brian, how many players last year in the NHL scored 20 goals and had 200 hits? Yuri Slafkovsky is not one of those guys, by the way.
What? Tom Wilson?
Yep.
Probably the Tkachuk brothers.
One of two.
One of two. Brady. Oh, Matthew was hurt. Matthew, in a normal year, Matthew would be there. You know, my memory sucks for stuff like this, but it's got to be just a couple.
2 more. It's Will Cooley and Vincent Trocheck. 4 guys.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
20 goals.
Same team, too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
20 goals, 200 hits. Slafkovsky in year 2, 20 and 152. Slafkovsky last year, 18 and 194.
Getting there.
So
real close.
I am saying an ideal Slafkovsky, like we're like 25 and 200, I think is kind of what we could shoot for. Even 30, you know? And look, of those guys, by the way, Cooley barely makes. Cooley got 20. Only Tom Wilson scored 30. So Tom Wilson was the only guy last year that had 200 hits and 30 goals. I think that's what Slav is. I think Slav is a guy that in a perfect world, he's getting you 25 goals, 40-ish assists, and 200 plus hits. And he is the power forward.
600 takeaways.
Yeah. And it is just, he is just hit. I mean, he's been doing it so far this year. He's laying the body a bunch. He now has the 2 goals. But that's what he's becoming, by the way. Don't think he's a 90-point, 100-point guy. There was the dreams of him becoming Rantanen. Like, I don't think that's happening. It's not over, but I think it's more likely that every year he's like, 27 goals, 210 hits, 23 goals, 215 hits. I think he's that. And by the way, he should be. He's like 6'4" giant playing with 2 of the most skilled guys on the team that are both better finishers than he is. It makes sense that he's going to get 65 points and 25 goals and 215 hits. So to me, if Slav is doing that, and he is, I don't know if he's on pace for that this year, but probably is more or less, that is a good Yuri Slafkovsky. $7.5 million, you're getting a 25 goal scorer that hits everything in sight. Good hockey player. That's how I've kind of like, that's who he's becoming, by the way. He's not becoming someone else. He's becoming that type of guy. There were 4 of them in the league last year. Kiefer Sherwood, by the way, real close, but I think he had 18 or 19 goals. He was just off the list. And
really valuable players.
And those 4 guys are really 4 really good freaking hockey players, man.
Yeah.
Add Slav to that list. Like, that's a good, if you're saying I am comparable to those 4 players and Trocheck and Wilson and Cooley and Brady Tkachuk, like, you're doing something good.
Should we talk about the slightly worrying side of things where, like, Slav at the moment really doesn't look like the elite playmaker that a lot of us thought we had drafted?
Sure.
Because turning off the wall and making a really crisp, nice pass, Slav, for whatever reason, that was what he started with. And I don't see it as much anymore. He does everything else right for a really super young power forward. And you're talking about the goals. If those keep going in, that's great. But I always saw the assists as being a more important metric of how well he's falling into place as a young player. And then I don't want to do this all negative, like positive. Something flashed to me as I was thinking about this segment was that, like, compare Slav to Drouin. One of them is all skill, no substance, and one of them is some skill, all substance. I'm taking Slav in that, the substance guy, 10 times out of 10. Maybe Drouin ends up with better results on the assists front in some years, but who contributes more in all zones, in all ways, and doesn't necessarily get the glory for being on the score sheet, but is there all the time? It's Yuri Slafkovsky.
So maybe we can distill it down to this, that he's not as good on the power play as some people would hope he is.
He's probably a second unit guy.
I think that's what it is. I'm just looking at some of his numbers.
That's the key factor, man. Unless he's the net front bully the opposition
which he
guy.
might be in 3 years. Just not. He's
Sure.
not that guy
But
right
for
now.
now, I think you play to your strengths and you flip flop him.
Year
and
over
someone.
year at 5-on-5. The second year versus his third year. We all remember we were super impressed with him second half of the year 2, where he was borderline the second best player on the team in the last 30 games of the season. Last year, we didn't have him top 5. We had him just outside the top 5. Primary assists at 5-on-5 per 60 minutes went up last year. Points per 60 at 5-on-5 went from 1.8 to 2.2 last year. So he was more productive at 5-on-5 last year. It's the power play part where he kind of slid a bit last year. But specifically from a creation standpoint, and I know primary assists, there's other things that matter. And I couldn't open those windows that fast. But from a primary assist standpoint at 5-on-5, he got slightly better last year via that metric. Via that one metric, it's an important one, primary assist per 60. But it's there. I think it's just on the power play. I think we wish, and not truthfully, the power play's never fully worked. And yeah, he should become the net front guy. That is the position he should be in and should be succeeding in. But he's not that guy right now. Eventually, the Demidov conversation is going to happen about that spot, and it comes down to like Suzuki's not good at the bumper, Slaf has not figured out the bumper. If they really trust Bolduc with the bumper that much, then you're bumping Slaf. Otherwise, net front has to go to, anyway, it becomes a bit of a mess, but I think that's maybe what it is, that there's a power play thing about Slaf that people are kind of wishing there would have been more juice there by now.
Yep, I agree with that. I think you try some stuff at this point.
Yeah.
The power play is one of the things, like special teams in general, both are not working how they should. But like penalty kill is just bad flat out. And then the power play is less good than it should be for having 2 decently good units. So try something.
Yeah.
Have some fun, Marty. Switch it up. Slav's already playing with Cole and Nick on the first line. He doesn't necessarily need to on the power play as well. They could benefit from being with Demidov, who we've already seen definite chemistry, Suzuki and Demidov.
Okay, so Brian, let's go back to your headline to wrap up this episode. Not that we're calling it that quickly, but that was it for that segment. Shifting back into headlines of the week, which I know you wanted to basically tie a bow on the conversation we had about the Lane Hutson contract extension. So over to you for your headline.
Yeah, that contract that we're still over the moon about, the 8.85 times 8 years for Lane Hutson, is one of 6 contracts that I want to discuss here. I looked across the entire NHL, every single team's cap situation going into the 29-30 season and beyond. So I'm only really concerned with the long-term optics of NHL teams right now. So for us, it's Dobson at 9.5, Lane Hutson just under 9, Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slaf under 8, and then Caden Gooley at about 5.5. All those put together, you're at $47 million, $47.25 million for 6 really important pieces of this team. Now, we've done the Slafkovsky debate. We've done the Gooley debate about like, A, are they disappointing? B, are they injury prone? Whatever. I don't know if you even can put that aside, but let's try to for this discussion, because at least in the case of Slafkovsky, he's only getting better, and Gooley, we can hope. Those 6 guys making 47, I think that's excellent. That's going to be roughly a third of the cap in the 28-29, 29-30 seasons, which accounts for your top line and your top 3 defensemen, which I think that's excellent for a third of the cap. And so what I wanted to do is compare that to other teams. Last week we had said, just sort of off the top of our heads, like, yeah, Anaheim's interesting. The Devils are definitely interesting. Like, who else is in there? I've only found 2 teams that for $50 million roughly are doing, you could argue, better. And I don't even know how easy an argument that is. The 2 teams in question are the Dallas Stars and the New Jersey Devils. I put Anaheim aside because they look really good for $30 million. They have not actually tied up that many guys long term. And they also gave 9 to a defenseman who is not Noah Dobson or Lane Hutson. So I want to do this discussion about the Stars and the Devils. I also wanted to throw it to you if I like sillily omitted a team that you think should be in this discussion for roughly $50 million, how good they're doing. But here's what the Stars have. $51 million into the 29-30 season between Rantanen, yeah, excellent to have him, Rope Hintz, who's great, Johnston, who's also great, Esa Lindell, Miro Heiskanen, and Ottinger. Audie, that great goalie. So that's pretty good, I'd say, for $50 million.
So I think this is the only one that beats the Habs. I'm okay saying that. Like, this is now, because partially it's because these guys are in their prime and we've seen them do it Well, to an extent. I mean, it's still conference finals is still something. Let's not poo-poo that. But like,
Sure, yeah.
this one is pretty freaking incredible. The fact that this is till 2030 is unreal, and the fact that like these, because there's one of the, I mean, you wrote like 14 teams in the honorable mentions, which shout out to yourself for being very much on brand. The Panthers are the other one that's like the Panthers are like all the old guys, whereas like in 2028, I don't know if the Panthers are going to be any good anymore, but the Stars will still be good because these guys are not all going to be 35 years old by then. So yeah, this one's pretty darn good. So you can't hide from this one. This is just incredible stuff.
And it's all positions too.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Habs don't have a goalie tied up like that. Hopefully Fowler becomes that guy that we can pay a good amount of money, but a fair amount of money too, and keep it reasonable. But they've got 3 really good forwards, 2 really good Ds, 1 goalie. That's pretty good. The other one that I wanted to talk about was the New Jersey Devils, because for slightly less than the Canadiens, going into that season, the 2029-2030 season, for $45 million, they've got Jack Hughes at a crazy reasonable deal, obviously. They've got Meyer, who's great. They've got Bratt, who's great. Then they've got Luke Hughes. They've got Pesci. They've got Kovacevic, and they've got Jake Allen. So those last 2, whatever, they just happen to be. I thought about removing guys who were like under $4 million or under $5 million for the case of Kovacevic and Allen. But look, they're signed through that year, so might as well include them. For $45 million, that's not too bad. All
right. Again, I think you're reducing the quality, but you admitted that. Once you get to those last 2 guys, former Habs, of course, we'd be talking about. I think that's part of the reason we brought them up. Yeah, this one too. Like they've committed. They obviously haven't done as much, but I mean, I view New Jersey as like there's clearly room to grow here. Like there's clearly other guys, and there's obviously other guys to the core that just aren't signed long term yet, right? So I do think like in terms of just comparables, the fact that this number is pretty darn close to the Habs as well is pretty interesting. And you have both Hughes brothers and Jesper Bratt too. Like this is just, again, this is good management, and there's a lot of wiggle room here to. And I'll say the Kovacevic contract is fine. The Jake Allen contract is fine. Like you throw those in there, at least that's stability in terms of like guys who you'll be able to ice at okay prices going over the next couple years. If you don't mind, you have your list of 26 other teams that you thought put together pretty good nucleus this year. So
I think I'd say there's 10, but sure.
Whatever. Panthers, whatever. We don't have to talk about them. Freaking Marchand on the weekend. We don't have to talk about him. The Ducks. I wanted to talk about the Ducks. So they have, and I'm just making sure I'm looking at my notes properly right now. Obviously, they have Jackson Lacombe that he just signed up. Mason McTavish also as well has been locked up for a little bit. And then they also have Troy Terry. So that to me, I got to about 23 million with that. I don't know who else you included in your math. The big one though is
Dostal.
So yeah, he
6.5.
He was the halvesy to me of whether we count him or not. We might be able to have this conversation in like 18 months. Which it might not be as impressive by then because the McTavish contract only goes till 30. So does I think the Troy Terry contract only goes till 2030. But you're going to have Leo Carlson.
31, sorry, for McTavish. Okay. But yeah.
So you have Leo Carlson that needs a contract. And you have Cutter Gauthier that needs a contract. I think they're both up this year. Oh, and I think Pavel Mintyukov as well is probably also this year.
Mintyukov is next year. No, he is this year as well. And Zellweger, that's probably lower leverage, but another decent. And
then further out, obviously McQueen and Seneca are the other 2 guys. So they don't have those guys locked up, and the Ducks have shown to be pretty stingy with their contract negotiations. And I think at some point that's going to bite them in the rear end, right? Where you had the Leafs on one side where they're like, you can get any contract you want. And then you have the Ducks on the complete other side where they're like, you will not get the contract you ever want. The Habs are somehow in the middle, which is fantastic. That's where you want to be. I think it's going to come back to bite them at some point, but we don't know where that is right now. San Jose is obviously way too early, but Celebrini, Smith, Misa, Sam Dickinson, that's going to be expensive. Vegas is the one team I really wanted to bring up. Mitch Marner, Jack Eichel, Thomas Hertl, Shea Theodore, Noah Hannafin. You can include Aiden Hill if you want to, but those 5 guys together is about, if I've done my math correctly, about 46 million through 2030. That's pretty good.
Yep. I'd say that's quite good.
So
they're all late 20s, early 30s. So by the time we're in 29, 30, the reason I didn't include them was because I was like, 33, 34-year-old, these guys are not 29-year-old these guys, which is the case for most NHLers,
right?
With the exception of Sid the Kid. who at, even his advanced age is still sick. But yeah, the Knights pretty decent for the amount of money that's on there. I thought that the Red Wings merited talking about because they're in our division. I think they've done great for about $25 million. I'm just pulling up their Puckpedia right now, which since Cap Friendly has gone to an actual NHL team, the Washington Capitals, Puckpedia is the way to go if you're looking for like cap information out there. It's a really, really great website for all that stuff. Dylan Larkin, 8.7. Lucas Raymond, just over 8. I'd say two very good deals for what they provide. Moritz Seider for 8.5, roughly. Another great one. So those 3 guys at 25 mil, that's a really good start.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's...
Yeah.
Problem is...
And I'm happy to say that other than that, like the Sens, decent start for 23 million. Whatever, it's okay. Panthers, old but good for like 77 million. All the guys they have through 29-30. You said it yourself. Like that's going to be a lot of age and a lot of money for old dudes pretty soon. And then the Bruins, that's a good deal for Pasternak. After that, McAvoy is decent, but like the rest. So it's just the stars.
Yeah.
And if you really want to be a stickler and think the Devils are better, okay, more power to you. But I'm still picking the Habs. So look, Stars and Habs, and then in the future, Sharks. Those are the teams.
Yeah.
I love being in that mix.
I think it shows you that the teams that have the stability right now are the Stars, the Panthers, in terms of the high end guys. In terms of this team is going to be together for a while. Then I think it's Habs, Ducks. We can throw the Sharks in
Knights.
there. And Knights are also in that top group as well, right? Like,
yeah.
But I think Habs, Ducks, clearly, along with the Sharks lurking puns as well. Like that kind of is the next group. And then the other, it's also just timing. Like if we're being a bit arbitrary with this, like the Sens have a lot of good guys, but some of them are up before that. I think it's Stützle needs a new contract in like 2 or 3 years. I think they have Shane Pinto right now who's going to need a new contract. What does that look like? So some of this is arbitrary in terms of the timelines we're picking, but I think the point is like all the teams we're pointing to in terms of like, hey, they're older, but they've done this. It's the freaking Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Florida Panthers. Like what do those 3 teams have in common, Brian? Like they're really freaking good at hockey.
Pretty good playoff runs. Very good regular seasons, very good playoff runs. Some of them have even won the cup.
A few.
You know who didn't? Was the Toronto. I was talking to our friend Carl over this weekend about how the Leafs had their guys taken Montreal style deals, they would have 4 cups in the Matthews era. If they could have gotten an elite goaltender, an elite defenseman or 2, they'd have cups. And they took all the money instead, which is just glorious to look at as a Montreal Canadiens fan. We absolutely love that. Bit of trivia for you, Jordan. You mentioned one of the teams that has 0 contracts signed in the 29-30 season. The San Jose Sharks don't have anybody signed that much long term. What's the only other NHL team that does not have a single contract signed for 29-30?
I will go with Utah.
So Utah has a couple. Good guess. They have a couple.
This is a tough one. Seattle?
Not Seattle. I can give you a hint.
Yeah.
It's not a current rebuild, but it's about to happen because it's not going to go well.
About to happen type of rebuild. Pittsburgh.
It's about to happen. It is Pittsburgh. Yeah. Soon as the Habs poach Crosby, that rebuild is starting.
We're going to poach Crosby and Raquel at the same time. We might as well. We can't just leave Ricardo Raquel by himself there.
I think we can.
Chip in an extra second. I think that'll do it. Conditional.
No,
second.
I mean I think we can leave him by himself. You want Raquel that badly?
Team. Anyways.
Oh, he's on your fantasy. You biased MF.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up there. Look, it's overall the Habs are doing pretty well. This is not perfect. We have shifting goalposts in terms of our expectations of the team. Overall, they've been playing better. There's stuff that needs to be fixed, but the stuff they need to fix compared to what we were talking about even 12 months, especially 12 months ago in October, geez, it's day and night. We're being much more selective. The guys are a lot better. They're some of the most exciting hockey players we've seen in our lifetime are wearing the sweater right now, and it's been really exciting. So a couple interesting games coming up this week as they head out west slowly, and we'll be here to cover it all for you. You can find us on social media at HabsLandPod. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And until next Monday, go Habs.